the American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. It's time for a change in the White House, y'all. Bring it. If you want the real deal, then you gotta be the real leader. Want the real leader, then you need the real land. Build a wall, deal with all them terrorists. America needs a man that can.
Hey, Audrey, how's it going? Danny, how's it going? Chuck, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. We're just going to let some folks get in the room. Lenny, good to see you. Good evening indeed. Indeed. Got a lot to talk about tonight, you guys. We've got a busy weekend, actually. A busy weekend. So click the share button. Let folks know we're here. As you know, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube totally shadow ban me. I have about 24,000 followers on Twitter, and they never see anything I post. Yeah. Take it, John. I gotta tag every 5 million people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How's it going, Nick? So we're gonna talk about Bernie. You got some problems if you're voting for Bernie. Yeah, the Democrats are gonna steal that from you again. We're gonna talk about that. Feel free to stick around. Feel free to stick around. We're all Trump supporters here on the show, but you know, it's an election year, so we're happy to talk about all of the situation. And we have Bernie right here on the list, so you picked a good day to come in. Hello, Nick. Yes, Jonah, thank you. Make sure you click the share button. Let everybody know we are live. There's my Munkin. I love you, my Munkin. Woo! Got a lot of work to do, guys. 2020 is going to be a really hard-working year. We got to work hard. These Democrats are crazy. And they're not figuring it out anytime soon. So we're going to have to fight the good fight. Fight the good fight. So important. We're going to talk about exactly that and the election strategy. Oh, yeah. And all the good things that are going on. The president has had some great successes. Just some fun stuff. There's some good stuff happening. I would pay good money for a pair of glasses that would not reflect the screen in my face. Audrey, that's annoying. Yeah. I'm sure you are. That Facebook is extra upset with me. We're going to tell you why. Deborah, how's it going? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are watching the one and only Trump Talk US live in DC with Suzzanne Monk. I am Suzzanne Monk. We are Trump Talk US 2020, focused entirely on this election season. How's it going, Mary Jones, my dear Virginia friend? Mary, while I got you in the room here, I'm going to be down in Richmond on the 20th to come help you guys fight these crazy gun-grabbing Democrats. Virginia has problems. You guys, I'm very concerned about Virginia. A number of things going through. Obviously, the gun confiscation bills that are being suggested, the banning of martial arts training. They have actually passed a ban on firearms on Capitol grounds, leaving the Capitol grounds a gun-free zone there in Virginia. Huge lines to get into the Capitol building now. Horrible situation. entirely less safe than it was with good patriots armed and trained and ready to defend themselves. If we learned nothing from the recent church shooting, it is that a good man or woman, a good guy with a gun, is what takes out a bad guy with a gun because they're there. We don't have 20, 50, 30 minutes, 10, 5 minutes. We don't have that kind of time to wait for cops to show up when you're getting shot at. Bullets move fast. Cars move slower. So it takes a minute for them to get there. Which would you choose? If I had my choice between sending a bullet at a bad guy or sending a cop car at a bad guy, I'm going with bullet every single time. That's what is so important about our Second Amendment. But that's not the only thing they're pushing against there in Virginia. There's a bill in the Virginia state legislature now trying to push the national popular vote interstate compact. We've talked about that on this show so many times and how dangerous this is for our republic. The attack on our electoral college is literally an attack on our republic itself and an attempt to destroy our democracy as the founders intended, to destroy the protections we have for our red states, our smaller states, our more rural environments, to actually have a voice in deciding the presidency and deciding their leadership. We, the people, look, it says we, the people, not we, the city dwellers. So, so many bad things going on in Virginia. Some good things as well. We do have a lot of people pushing back. Sanctuaries, counties and cities are being formed. They're passing legislation to protect the Second Amendment. It's a full-on battle. But I'll be down in Richmond on the 20th, and hopefully I'll get a chance to see some of my great Virginia patriots like Mary Jones, who ran for Congress. And great. So we're going to do a short bit. I might have to pop out here in just a quick second. So we're going to pop back in when we can. We're going to cover as much news as we can. You'll have to give me just a quick second here, and we're good. Great. All right. Let's see what we can cover. Now, last month, there was a shooting at a Marine base. Saudi student who was there in military training came in with a firearm, shot up a bunch of soldiers and Marines. They're on the military base. They did not have firearms on them. That is why the regulation has actually been changed now so that Marines can, if you are in law enforcement in the Marines, on bases across the country, Marine bases, you are now able to carry your own personal firearm while off duty, which is a good thing. That being said, we have a situation that has been brewing. The investigation coming after the shooting found out that there was a ton of people, Saudi Arabian nationals here in the country, that either had very anti-American, very pro-jihad things on their social media, or were housing child pornography or connection to child pornography on their social media. So 21 Saudi Arabian soldiers have been removed from the United States. And Saudi Arabia is cooperating with our investigation. If they need to come back for any charges, they will. Now, what was determined during the investigation was that there was, in fact, no charges that were worthy of prosecution here in the United States, but they were immediately, upon completion of the investigation and upon the making of the recommendation to have them deported, they were immediately removed. They were flown out of the country today. Out. Now, it's a refreshing situation to see a president who actually cares enough about our country and is willing to call our enemies what they are enough to assert that, in fact, when we see an enemy on our shores, when we see, hey, Debbie, how's it going? Hey, Sharon, how's it going? When we see that we have allowed a danger, a risk to come into our country, we remove them. Now, under our last president, we had none of that. None of that happened at all. In fact, we had more and more individuals actually invited in under our past president, and more protections. It is under our past president that we've seen the decay of our soldiers' ability to defend themselves. We've seen the decay of our military. We've seen the creep of tolerance of Sharia in the country, in our legal system, ongoing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, all of that happened under Obama. And Tiny Willis, let's put this up on the screen because I agree with this 100%. Every American soldier should be able to carry anytime, anywhere. 100% agree. In fact, those who don't understand that's the smartest thing we could possibly do. We have individuals who are strongly trained in conflict, in firearms use. Even your basic training is going to give you some valuable skills when it comes to utilizing a firearm in a crisis situation. Why would you not want those individuals who, in fact, are prepared to handle any kind of conflict, unable to handle that conflict, or forced as they were in the situation in the shooting in December at the military base? The Marines there had no firearms. They went and grabbed a fire extinguisher so they could come at this guy with something. Yeah. We left our Marines so unguarded when they were attacked by a radical Islamic terrorist. Their only defense was a fire extinguisher. Yeah. So, this is the problem we have, you guys. This is the problem we have. We have had a strong decay of our military, a strong pulling away of our military from its ability to protect itself for quite some time. And it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of disturbing, actually, is what we've seen. I'm just pulling up some clips here. So hold up a little bit. There we go. So I'm excited to see that we're removing these individuals. We're going to see how that goes forward. Saudi Arabia is actually cooperating extensively, much to the left's annoyance. They get very upset that we're doing anything with the Saudi Arabian government. But the reality of the situation is, it is so important that we build these alliances in the Middle East wherever, and then we can, hey, Cindy, how's it going? Wherever we can, and cooperate with we can. To be fair, even watching what the president has said towards Iran, the president has openly stated, I will happily sit down and work with any nation who seeks peace. Even Iran. Now, Iran isn't going to seek peace, so unlikely. But that is, in fact, the reality of the situation. And we're going to play the president's remarks the remarks he made after the Iran speech here. I got to take a little break in a minute, and I'm going to put some video on so we can catch up on what the president actually said. It was an amazing response. And I think very important. Okay. Speaking of Iran, speaking of the response to the conflict in Iran, wow, did the leftist media get the whole thing wrong. Iran's people are radically upset at their own leadership. There are massive protests across the country. Protests today stormed the offices of the Ayatollah themselves. Individuals are being fired upon in the crowd. Thousands of students and individuals are protesting in the streets of Tehran. They painted Israeli and American flags on the ground to try to get the protesters to walk over these flags. I hope you've seen this video. It's phenomenal. The students, the Iranian students, refused. They refused to step on the paintings of the flags. And more so than even that, more so than merely refusing, they booed others. They shamed others. They chanted, shame, shame on you. They have been chanting death to the regime, death to liars. There is a huge outrage in Iran that the Iranian leadership under this Ayatollah lied and tried to blame the United States while they themselves committed a war crime, allowing rockets to be fired while commercial airline space was still active. When you have shut down your country, see, Iran obviously thought that they were going to get we were going to go over there and bomb them. They're so stupid. They were probably listening to John Kerry and their other infiltrators in the U.S. government who were telling them, oh, yeah, Trump's crazy. He's going to totally bomb you. He's only going to invade Iran. Well, we didn't invade Iran because that's not what Trump did. Obviously, what Trump did was take out Soleimani, which is something that he had ordered with conditions for up to 7 months. Those conditions being, if an American life was lost, we were going to retaliate. Very firm, solid conditions. They killed our guy. Boom. We killed their guy. We took him out. Something that should have happened long ago. Now, since Iran did not turn off their defense, their rocket system, knowing full well that it would be triggered and could put at grave risk their commercial airline, and they did not shut down the airport and prevent any additional commercial air traffic. Those two things together, allowing rocket defenses to operate at the same time while a commercial airline is in action, is a war crime. You are putting civilians' lives unnecessarily and inappropriately at risk. That is what Iran did. And that is what their people, how's it going, Carol, are so mad about. Erica, how's it going? That is what their people are furious about. The regime is so desperate with the sanctions that have been put on. By the way, President Trump doubling down even further on these vicious economic sanctions that are preventing, first off, no one can spend any money. You can't spend any money on anything that's going to end up in Iran. You can't help any Iranian businesses. Iran can't spend any money in the United States. All of that is working wonderfully. Prince, I'm happy to talk about. We're actually talking right now about Iran. And we're talking about the Iranian people who are rising up against their own government. Because, see, the Iranian people are so upset. You know who they're upset at? They're upset at Nancy Pelosi. They're upset at the Democrats. Literally, Iranian citizens in Iran are tweeting their outrage at the Democrat Party and Nancy Pelosi for lying and misleading the public and the world about this ridiculous myth of World War III, pretending somehow that Soleimani was some great, wonderful hero, when in fact he was a terrorist who terrorized his own people. His own people feared and loathed him, and that is proven today by the thousands and thousands and thousands of protesters in the streets of Tehran, in cities across Iran, protesting this radical and a violent regime for the harm that they have done themselves to their own people. To their own people. Thank you for sharing, Archangel. Thank you for sharing. So let's talk about World War III. There is no World War III. There is a lie that the Democrats are telling, a lie that is actually endangering the lives of not just Americans, but of Iranians. I'm going to play a little video here. Let me put this up. Let's pull this on over here. Oh, I got to share the screen. This is what we got to do. There we go. Skip that ad.
And here we have President of the
I'm going to let you
United
guys listen to this. I'll be
States,
right back.
and the world.
Let's make sure that's up on screen for you guys. There we go.
As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Good morning. I'm pleased to inform you the American people should be extremely grateful and happy. No Americans were harmed in last night's attack by the Iranian regime. We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. No American or Iraqi lives were lost because of the precautions taken, the dispersal of forces, and an early warning system that worked very well. I salute the incredible skill and courage of America's men and women in uniform. For far too long, all the way back to 1979 to be exact, nations have tolerated Iran's destructive and destabilizing behavior in the Middle East and beyond. Those days are over. Iran has been the leading sponsor of terrorism, and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world. We will never let that happen. Last week, we took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives. At my direction, the United States military eliminated the world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. As the head of the Quds Force, Soleimani was personally responsible for some of the absolutely worst atrocities. He trained terrorist armies, including Hezbollah, launching terrorist strikes against civilian targets. He fueled bloody civil wars all across the region. He viciously wounded and murdered thousands of U.S. troops, including the planting of roadside bombs that maim and dismember their victims. Soleimani directed the recent attacks on U.S. personnel in Iraq that badly wounded 4 service members and killed 1 American, and he orchestrated the violent assault on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. In recent
Let's just pause it. So we got a chance to see a little bit. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's a 10-minute clip. It's not that long, but it's certainly presidential, certainly addressing many of the issues that we have seen under this regime. And recent tweets that the president has put out have also been gravely in support of the Iranian people. Our president is about to accomplish something. Thank you for sharing, Deborah. Our president is about to accomplish something many thought entirely impossible. And we had no way of really imagining how we were going to be able to accomplish this mission of being able to bring down the Iranian regime without using military force. The problem, obviously, we've had in the past is that Iran is not an easy nation to come and take down. And we've seen that same problem when we invaded Iraq. And certainly the occupation of Iraq has led to all sorts of complications, including a quagmire that we are slowly extracting ourselves from to this day, as in Afghanistan. We as the United States certainly cannot afford to be in Iran at all. At all. So we didn't. And yet it's so important to the safety and security of the world that we do not let the Iranian regime continue to exist and to foment terror, to invest in terror, and to pay and grow up and build up these terrorist armies and fighting forces that continue to shoot our soldiers, shoot our allies, soldiers, and civilians across the world, terrorizing individuals, killing Christians. The atrocities go on and on. We can't go into Iran. We need the regime to go away. What we have needed for quite some time was the Iranian people to rise up and to be able to begin the process from within of tearing their regime down and replacing it with a freedom-loving regime. Now, if you know anything about Iran, Lydia, you don't have to like the president, but you should listen to some news about what's going on, because he's actually doing some pretty amazing things that are saving not just lives here in the United States, but certainly the lives of individuals in Iran by assisting in this process of helping the Iranian people to rise up and fight against their oppressive overlords. He is fulfilling, it's not a promise, because he didn't make this promise. He has merely stated that he's always stood with the Iranian people. I, as a Trump supporter, have often went and stood and protested with the Iranian people against this regime. I have many Iranian friends, Iranian American friends here in the United States who have come here fleeing their country, fleeing Iran because of the oppressive regime that was installed in 1979, because of the ineptitude of President Carter and the manipulation of British globalists. British Petroleum and the British globalist banker greed actually devastated Iran and was willing to throw the Iranian people under the bus and hand them over to this oppressive, radically Islamic regime, forcing women to give up the right to an education, to cover their heads, to stay locked in their homes. Huge oppression on women that was not there in 1978, 1977, and 1976. In 1976, Iranian women wore bikinis. They wore their hair out. They dressed like any other modern secular nation. What happened in 1978, and back, Boris, I'm happy to tell you, I love Boris, and I have no problem with the UK, but you're the same people in your deep state leadership who have given up the United Nations to the globalists, to the banking cabal, to the Rockefellers, to the Rothschilds, to the ultra uber elite who are trying to destroy national sovereignty and turn us all into a one global nation that they control. Those individuals operated in the Iranian situation through the United Kingdom. They have operated, you're right, under Obama through the United States. There is, in fact, no argument about that. But that is, in fact, the history. Both of our nations, both your nation and mine, Boris, we're going to put Boris's comments up. He says, why am I attacking the UK? Because I'm not, but what we're discussing. Both of our nations have been devastated for many years by those with a globalist agenda. That's what happened when the British joined the EU. They lost national sovereignty. They lost the ability to protect themselves, to make their own decisions as far as immigration, to make their own economic decisions as far as what kind of taxes, what kind of regulations, what kind of business licensure for their own people. The EU has been a devastating force for every nation in Europe except for Germany. 100%. 100%. So, yes, you're absolutely right, boys. Globalism is fading now. We are leaving the EU. Socialism was crushed. Don't worry. Well, back, boys, I have to keep worrying because, as you know, in your country and as we know here, the fight continues. All right. The globalists haven't given up. Just because we won the election doesn't mean that we've won the battle. So we continue to fight and we continue to stand with you in England, with our Brexiteers. We continue to stand with you as well. 100%. 100%. That is just the situation. All right. So let's I'm gonna scroll because there was a comment I wanted to respond to here. Oh yes, Trump is at the LSU Clemson game. I'm not picking any sides because I got friends on both the Clemson and the LSU side. You know, I'm probably 60, I'm probably like 55, I'm probably like 45, 55 go Tigers. I'm like a little bit more LSU just because I have, you know, some really close Louisiana friends that I love there. So, well, we'll see. It's a great game, and it's nice to see the president going out and actually able to see these games, but also to make an appearance in these college environments and to really start breaking away the narrative. As we know, the president, they love to say the president is hated. They love to say that young people don't like Trump and all of this other crap, when in reality, a vast amount of our young people, I meet young people who support the president, who wear Trump gear, who go out and march and rally and protest, do all the great things that us grown-up Trump supporters do. And they're great. They're great. So don't believe the lies of the media when they tell you that, in fact, when they tell you, oh, the young people don't like Trump. No. College-age kids are just as divided as the rest of the country. And just like us, they have a bunch of woke, smart, patriot, American-loving individuals who support our president because they understand what he's trying to do for our country. And they have some loopy-loony lefties who scream and yell and act crazy. They're Bernie supporters sometimes. We're going to talk about that. In fact, let's talk about that right now. The Democrat race looks to be shaping itself up kind of interestingly. All right, so Booker is out. Cory Booker is out. He couldn't raise the money. He just admitted, the one thing I really respect about Cory Booker in this entire campaign, and it was none of the things he said during his campaign, none of the way he handled himself, none of that. The one and only one thing I will respect Cory Booker for is for just admitting you couldn't raise the money and leaving. I couldn't raise the money. So I couldn't continue. All right, well, that's probably the only honest thing you said in the entire campaign, Cory. But we're sad to see you go because the entire Democratic dais, if you will, got really pale. Have you noticed how it just keeps getting paler and paler and paler and paler? I think so as well. Beck Morris is mentioning that he hopes that Bernie will win because Trump will beat him. I agree, Trump will beat him, and I appreciate that argument. And it's something that we should take on directly here in the United States. Are we going to be a socialist nation or not? I think a Bernie campaign would do that. But listen, that's not what's going to happen. Yes. So this is the thing. So Cory is out. Kamala's out. We're down to white guy, white lady claiming to be a Native American, and an Asian dude. And then, of course, Bloomberg, who's not really in the race. And then Klobuchar, which is funny because the media was like, oh, there's one woman. And then they named two women. I'm like, poor Klobuchar. Poor Amy Klobuchar. She's still in the actual polling. Like, she's still in the eight that are getting polling. Nobody pays any attention to that poor woman. You obviously aren't running a very good campaign, Amy. Just pointing that out. But yes, the rumor is Warren and Sanders, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, are bonking heads. Okay. The scuttlebutt is that Bernie Sanders has been telling his staffers to say negative things about Elizabeth Warren, to say that she's an elitist, that she's the elite's favored candidate, that she's not going to be with the people. And so that's what the Elizabeth Warren camp says that the Bernie camp is saying about the Elizabeth Warren camp. It turned into middle school real fast over there. There's also a rumor going around that Bernie once told Elizabeth Warren on the campaign trail in the recent months, told her that women can't win. Now, here's what I got to say about that. Unless he told her that yesterday, you know, and I know that's a bunch of crap. Okay? Because Elizabeth Warren would not be sitting on it. Oh, you said women can't win the presidency, and I'm just going to say nothing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And oh, and then when it's convenient and I got to smack back at you, then I'm going to mention something you said months ago. Nobody believes that anymore. Politics has changed, and even those on the left no longer are buying that. So here's the reality of the situation overall. I'm not buying any of it. Okay. I'm not buying this Bernie Warren battle. Okay. I'm not buying Bernie said something sexist and Elizabeth is doing this and there's infighting. Because I know the Democrat Party, because I followed the Democrat Party for many, many years, for several decades. I've watched what they do, and here's what they do time and time again. One, they stick together like flies on poo-poo. The Democrats stick together. So if you see them claiming that they're fighting, 90% of that is going to be for show. The second thing I know about the Democrat Party, especially when it comes to primaries, the Democrats already know who is going to be their nominee. Let me repeat what I just said. The Democrats already know who is going to be their nominee. Now, I don't mean the rank and file Democrats. I don't mean the Democrat voters. I mean the party leadership already knows who they intend to run. They have zero intention of letting the people, the Democrats, decide who is going to run under their party's nomination. They have never let the voters decide. In fact, all the way back to the election, even of Barack Obama, and before that, there is time and time again examples of Democrats manipulating and controlling vote totals. In the Obama election, it was the caucus results. They totally cheated Hillary out of her turn, if you will, by millions of votes. In the primaries, there were counties across Iowa, across Ohio. There were counties where more people voted than lived in the county in a Democrat primary. Yes, more people than lived in the county altogether voted in the Democrat primary, more than the population of the county. So there was massive fraud, massive manipulation. The Democrat Party was intent on putting Barack Obama as their nominee and getting him elected, and that is exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. And Carol, I agree 100% with what you're saying. But I'm gonna lead into it. Here. This is what Carol is saying. Bernie and Lizzie waiting for Hillary to jump in to see who she gives a new home. Let's talk a little bit about that. So we have the candidates in the race. Biden is polling at the top, as is Bernie. Elizabeth is right there in the mix. Boot edge right below them. So these are obviously our top four. Biden across the board is pretty much holding the top of the polling. Biden, Bernie, more Biden than Bernie, but we're looking at it right there. My opinion on this infighting that we're seeing in the Democrat Party right now is an attempt to ensure that the candidate they want is able to continue forward. Now, the candidate they want to win the primary and the candidate that may end up after the Democrat convention being the nominee may in fact be two different people. And the candidacy of Mike Bloomberg is a big demonstration of that. Because as we see, Mike Bloomberg is making huge ad buys. Mike Bloomberg is making rally events. He just had a rally with Judge Judy where only 45 people showed up to attend the rally. But he's making a huge push, buying a $10 million ad buy in the Super Bowl, doing interviews across the country, working very hard to get out this idea that Mike Bloomberg is in fact the anti-Trump. He's going to solve all of our problems. He's going to get rid of Trump. Never does he mention all the problems he created in New York, but he's not doing well. He's polling less than 2%. He's not even polling in the top 8, and the top 8 is capping out at 2%. So Mike Bloomberg is not actually even getting 1 or 2% of the vote, of the polling right now, despite spending way more money than everybody else. Despite ad buys across the country, despite a huge promotional push for Mike Bloomberg, he is getting nowhere, getting absolutely nowhere. And yet he continues forward. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if he manages to get himself into the debates, because as you know, you both must, to get into the debates, you both must have raised a certain level of money, and you have to be polling at, I believe, above 2 or 3%, which he's not doing. Will he be able to buy his way into the debates? That will be interesting to see. I suspect they won't, because my prediction continues to be that Bloomberg's candidacy is really a bench warmer position. He's a placeholder for Hillary Clinton. He's going to set up this entire international apparatus. As he said, he's willing to spend up to $500 million, $500 million of his own money to set up this nationwide apparatus, this nationwide campaigning apparatus outside of the DNC. So like a super PAC, not exactly a super PAC, which means he's circumventing some sort of fundraising law in a way that we should probably investigate. But he's setting up this whole apparatus, and he's openly stated that even if he does not win and is not able to hold the nomination or continue forward with his campaign, he will maintain the spending and keep the apparatus in place for whoever the eventual nominee is. Now, I can tell you right now, the Democrats do not intend to hand that nomination over to Bernie because they cannot trust him to do what he is told. He is a communist at the deepest core of his being and is untrustworthy, is a wild card, not somebody that they can control effectively and manipulate. Elizabeth Warren, probably a little bit more controllable, but they certainly, I don't think they feel that she is able to beat the president, and I know she isn't able to beat the president. That kind of lack of stamina, lack of drive, this whininess, this victimhood that you see in her, I stand up to power. No, not in that whiny little voice, Pocahontas. You don't. And the misleading, the lies, obviously she has been well branded on the right as somebody that we in Trump Nation, as Trump supporters, are raring to oppose. We don't appreciate her treatment of us in the previous campaign, and certainly we don't appreciate her style of political manipulation when it comes to lying about her past and playing the identity card and all of these little games that we pretty much, Trump people were all thumbs down. We don't like any of that. So I think what we're seeing by the Democrat Party is an attempt to control and manipulate their own primary voters and their own primary candidates by using the media idea to create and foment this concept of a feud between Warren and Bernie. So the feud gives you news to talk about. At this point, they're just trying to make sure that they can get, I think the reality is they want to get Biden all the way through the primaries so that he obtains the nominee, has a health issue or some sort of health crisis, is forced to step down, and Hillary Clinton steps up into his place. So, but in order to do that, you need to actually distract us from Biden's problems, because Biden is a horrible, oh my God. If I had to run Joe Biden, if I were on the Democrat side and my choice was let's run Joe Biden, corn pop Joe Biden, Children sit on my lap and pet my hairy legs, Joe Biden. Sniff any child within a mile radius, Joe Biden. Is this the Joe Biden we're talking about? The Joe Biden that threatened to take Trump out back behind the woodshed? That Joe Biden? The Joe Biden whose son was literally implicated in the Ukrainian situation, who is literally the Ukrainian collusion that the Democrats are accusing Trump of? Joe Biden is literally that. His son is literally named in the Burisma lawsuit in the Ukraine, which is addressing this government corruption, that they were using the government to launder money, that they were giving government officials like Hunter Biden huge positions with huge salaries with absolutely no experience whatsoever. This Joe Biden. So unfortunately, if I were the Democrats, I wouldn't want anybody to even talk about Joe Biden. I wouldn't want Joe Biden to do any rallies. I just kind of keep Joe Biden wrapped in the plastic over there. You know, kind of just show him in the box every now and then. Yep, he's still running, and put him away, because he is everything that is corrupt about the Democrats. He is everything that we have been opposing by the deep state. He is exactly why Trump supporters went out in droves to fight against the Democrat candidate, to fight against Hillary Clinton, to fight against the Obama regime. Corruption, connection, cronyism, nepotism, using the government for your own benefit, quid pro quo, inappropriate sexual behavior. Yes, nibble your finger behind, exactly. Self-enrichment. All of the things that we have been so upset about our federal government getting involved with and manipulating us with, time and time again, Joe Biden is all of those things and more. So, much better for the news to talk about Bernie and Elizabeth are fighting, when I think the quote that I read through the article, Bernie Sanders stated earlier, and I think the quote was very accurate. Elizabeth Warren has always been a good friend of his, and any argument you see in the media is probably for media consumption. And so even Bernie himself is like, it's fake. We get along. Spin, if you will. And that's the reality. We are living in a world where the Democrats are going to spin, and the human being is not the candidate. Angel, how's it going? Yes, I am on YouTube. You can find me on Trump Talk US on my YouTube channel there, and all the videos are there. Yeah, Audrey, isn't it like 40 years he's been in office? And what exactly, I don't know what we could point to that Biden has actually done good. A lot of children were sniffed along the way, but I'm not sure about any policies. I'm not sure about any policies. Yes, I'm live now on YouTube and Periscope and Facebook, Angels. So I'm live on all three platforms at the same time. I'm using StreamYard, and it's a pretty good software system. I'm able to actually live stream on multiple platforms, which is great. It does help cut down on the fascism and the censorship, that we see on Facebook. So very badly. Very, very badly. So before I go, I just want to mention a few things coming up, and then I'm going to remind everybody about my new website, The Democrats Are Nuts. This week coming up on the 20th, we are going to be in Richmond for the Second Amendment rally. Oh, great. There's the link, Angels. Let's see. I'm going to put this up because he's on Periscope. There is the link, the YouTube link, Angels, in the comment box there. So, and let's see. I don't have any comments from YouTube, so I'm not sure if I can post a link, but that may or may not help. But yes, you can also look up Suzzanne Monk, Trump Talk US. It's going to be in there somewhere. Trump Talk US live in DC. If you put that, it might help out. So, a few points I want to say. We're going to be obviously in Virginia. I need all of you to pay close attention to what's going on with this national popular vote issue. It's obviously something that we're fighting and have been fighting across the country, that they are trying it in Virginia at a time when they are basically inundating the Virginian voter with bill after bill after bill to panic about. It's so important that we stay focused because they're trying to bury something as important as the destruction of the Electoral College in a mountain of crazy legislation. And so we just all become, oh, it's just too much and we can't deal with it and we let it go by and our republic fails from underneath that. So we need to be very, very careful. Also, the March for Life on the 24th here in Washington, D.C. It is the largest event. I think like 1 million people show up. It's a ridiculously large event. Everywhere. People here supporting the right to life. The president has addressed the group, the meeting, the event from giant jumbotron screens on the National Mall last 2 years. Last year, I actually saw Democrat Senator Joe Manchin there. So the March for Life is something that brings politicians. It certainly brings young people, as we saw with the Covington High School kids, that they were in town for the March for Life. That was part of what had brought them here and brought them in contact with these radical leftists who were protesting them. It's a big event. So that's going to be exciting. We also have Dion Cini from Operation Flag Drop coming here on the 19th. They're going to do a big flag drop on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, mostly because I think Dion got a little upset because the Remove Trump people had like a really big flag that said Remove Trump. And so I think Dion got a little like, oh, I got a bigger flag. So he's going to come here and unfurl it on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the 19th. Feel free to message me to join us if you'd like to be out there. And, it's just nice to see that exciting things actually do happen in D.C., despite what some people say. So, all right. Just last thing before we go, the Democrats are nuts. Folks, I've launched President Nutcracker and I. Where are you, little buddy? Here we go. President Nutcracker and I have launched a new website called The Democrats Are Nuts. It is a real news website, but all of the comments, all of the quotes from random citizens are entirely made up and are a satire of Democratic commentary that you and I see on social media all the time. So the news is real. The commentary is satire, is made up to intentionally mock the Democrats. And what you're going to do is you're going to be able to get real news and real information with a hilarious spin. We've got several articles. Hey, Puzzles, we're in all the different chat rooms. Puzzles says hello to everybody. Many of us are here on Facebook. Many of us are here watching on Periscope. We're actually doing all 3 platforms at the same time. So that does divide up the numbers. That is, in fact, what happens. And, YouTube doesn't show everybody my videos yet anyway. So we're working on it. We're continuing to build the audience. So go to the Democrats Are Nuts. There's some great articles. So Facebook is already censoring me and already trying to shut me down on Facebook. Slow down my posts, not let people see it because they're mad about the DemocratsAreNuts.com. They don't like my snarky attitude and they certainly don't like my Nutcracker. So you add snarky attitude plus Nutcracker, and then you have them really upset at me. So go to the DemocratsAreNuts.com. There's a lot of funny and fun articles there to share. Share them to your group, share them to your pages. Let's get the word out. It is obviously a way for me to keep President Nutcracker in the hearts and minds of everybody throughout the year, but also a way to use humor to get information out to the people, to continue to share the real news in a way that just continues to put a smile on some people's face. I try to mix a little bit of funny. We have to laugh at these crazy Democrats. If we don't laugh at them, we're going to go nuts. And they're the ones who are nuts. In fact, that's why they're nuts, because they're not laughing anymore. They're upset. They're uptight. They're triggered. The lack of laughter creates the TDS on the Democrat side. So I don't want to create, DDS, Democrat derangement syndrome on our side. Thank you, Rusty. I'm glad you love it. I don't want to create that on my side, so we have to have laughter. And that is where me and President Nutcraft Girl put together the DemocratsAreNuts.com. You'll be amused at our entire writing staff are other nutcrackers. Our other nutcrackers. No, Deborah, the DemocratsAreNuts.com. It's a free standalone website, so Facebook can't shut me down. YouTube, the only thing that can stop me is maybe Google can hide the search engine, but I made the URL really easy to remember, the DemocratsAreNuts.com. So they're going to have a hard time keeping me quiet. They are going to have a hard time keeping me quiet this year. And that is our show for today, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We will be back on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, there will be new articles up on the DemocratsAreNuts.com. Tomorrow, we're doing an article, at least one new article every day. Sometimes more. It depends on how crazy the Democrats are. If they're pretty crazy, so sometimes I just can't help it. And I got one sitting in drafts right now, waiting to be finished. You'll see. So tune into that. Check that out. Tune back into the show right here on whatever your chosen platform is, Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope, for the next Trump Talk US, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll be at Trump. I will be at Trump International for mega meetup. So if you are in this DMV area, please come out and join us. We're gonna have a great time talking with our fellow patriots and just enjoying MAGA, but bringing each other together, inspiring us, and certainly putting our feet back underneath us to get all of the great work done. There's so much work done. We got to register voters. We got to get people to the polls. We have so much to do. It's 2020. It's time. All right, folks, let's play a little bit of this. Come on.
Dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Love you guys. We'll see you back on Wednesday. Have a wonderful night. Find you back on the book. Until then, be safe, be smart, be MAGA. You go see them up. Trump it out.